Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. Let's talk a little. Let's chat. So we'll go into story time. We'll wait about another 10 minutes or so before we go into that. But I think first and foremost, we'll talk about what the plan is for PSO today. They can be summarized with one very short thing. Whatever chat wants. Just as long as it's not something like Mind Offensive, I'm willing to play it today. So if there's any preference for episode 1, 2, 4, the chat is at the wheel, as it were, for picking. If I don't see any comments, if I don't think people are around, then what I'll do a couple of like box runs or whatever to pass some time. Wait for some people to trickle in as we listen to the Samurai Warriors 2 Empires soundtrack. There we go. I remembered which soundtrack it was. I did it. So let's see who's in lobby. I guess while we're loading in, shoutouts to Sino_ for following me and Digital Saya. One of them very PSO coded. My alerts unfortunately are not quite working, at least not from the feed. We'll look into that later. Okay, so I don't see anybody hanging around here. Let's do some warm-ups. Anyway, I hope people are doing well. I know there's people that usually lurk in the chat. Question is, what do I feel like doing beyond this? People were talking about, I guess, in the Discord. I'll mention very briefly. 307. But apparently select cloaks were going for a decent amount, and I double checked and I'm like, oh, 10 PDs every select cloak. Oh, Divine Filter, you're so funny. We were talking about earlier how I pick up a ton of those. We'll have to do a check at some point. I think I'm at 8. Because I just kind of sat on them, like nobody loves them, so I just held on to them from like the beginning of the game. And I was like, man, I wish these things had a purpose. And I was like, maybe I'll find a hunt where it's useful. Now it is part of the Divine Filter. I know I don't have V501, but I'm curious about the efficiency of this gun. So we're gonna test for people looking to do discount box runs, how hard it is. I imagine not very hard. Yeah, I mean, that's still pretty accurate. Thank you for the good luck. So even without like a V5 unit, you could in theory still do this run. I mean, I have a decently high hit hell gun, but you also probably wouldn't run UCAS in the same scenario. So it is what it is. I mean, it barely even feels like I don't have a V5 unit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think there's only like 2 shots that would have hit otherwise. Like there, it probably would have triggered. But like, if I'm getting it on like the first shot that I do, I mean, that's exactly what you want. A little unfortunate. I guess when you get really unlucky, you gotta cycle through 6 attacks or so. But again, that's still faster than just attacking with ATP. Unless you were like truly one-shot Dark Flow / Berserking with high ATP Hukas. I guess it's possible, depending on what you're doing for box runs. Would appreciate the good luck. Oh my gosh, am I not getting any armors? Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, come on, game, please. I wanna make some money while we're here. Holy, so many units that are useless. Oh, painful. That's not worth a lot. I don't want to take up weapons I have to identify, but I guess I'll take up this one. Let's compare some damage for a second, since we've seen about how fast it goes normally. Out of curiosity. So yeah, like if I'm zerking with like a good vice, it does decent damage to the point where like it's about as fast as a hell, but the difference is that I lock in place with the mech gun. With a pistol, I'm able to walk more sufficiently. I'm kind of surprised I triggered him there, to be honest. Given that I don't even think he was visible on camera when he shot at me there. That was interesting. Oh, episode 2. This is why I do safety heals when the camera does weird things and I don't feel like I should get hit there. Which had to go replay that. Like, was he even visible for a frame on my screen? I'm really curious now. Yeah, like stuff like that is very fast compared to the Vice. If I could get like that 1-2 kill, even just like a V501 would be sufficient. Kind of clean up some of that awkward gap. And again, like I'm playing QCast with like a really high hit lock gun. Most people won't have that. But if you're just playing as like a ranger, comparatively, it would be like the higher hit lock gun anyway. Anyway, I guess I'll sell items, see if anybody's around. Otherwise, we'll move on. I mean, at least I made money, question mark? Oh, nothing interesting in the shop, it looks like. Unfortunate. I was looking for charge armor, charge Vulcan. I could leave stuff as is for now. The curiosity with the Centurions. Yeah, he's 28 TP from cap, so the moment he basically levels 4 times, maybe 3, depending on his spread, I could just completely get rid of a Centurion forever and get max ATP. But for now, I'll enjoy the extra defense and evasion, since he has long since capped his ATA. In fact, does he even... Probably off by like 2, right? Off by 3. Yeah, so 1 Centurion is the only thing he really needs for accuracy. About what I thought. Oh, nobody in the lobby still. We're doing some solo morning runs, I guess. I'm like 3/4 awake. Yeah, once we're not in solo mode, we'll do some story time. I guess I should check him for a weapon. Nope. We'll do one little joke Gaigui run. Then I guess if truly nobody is here, then I guess I can experiment with episode 2, question mark. I think the goal at some point is to play this HuCast and actually do some Dark Flow stuff. I'm here, haven't had breakfast yet, says in Parameter. Welcome in Parameter. Oh, I lined up improperly, I'm dead. Oh. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's not right. I knew better. That's what I'd be for... That's what happens when you're half awake. Wait a minute, that's not perpendicular. Oof. Let me move slightly closer so that stops whipping. Now he should do the thing I'm looking for him to do. There we go. Oh, you know what? Oh, I don't have Dark Flow. I was gonna say, you know what I should do? I should probably practice Dark Flow on these enemies. Because there's no way I don't one-shot these with just like a little S-Red buff. There's no way. I don't believe. I know the Gaigui is immune to the A-Beast equivalent, or native, or whatever he's weak to, allegedly. All the mini-bosses are here, which is kind of annoying. Like Gibbles doesn't take bonus damage, for example. You know, the confuse into the shield is just rude. Fine, none of them interest there. Not our cleanest run ever, but whatever. Let's slash lobby. It's one of those things where I get out of habit, so I'm like, I was like somewhat close to where I should have been for the first Skibbles. The problem is like, I just need to think about it a bit more. The Ilgil I know how to deal with. There's like a million ways to kill it. I don't really care about the Ilgil. It's more about like the twin Gibbles, right? Because like you can line up perpendicular to one but not be perpendicular to the other. So I'm just deciding, should I spawn them one at a time in order to avoid the other issue? Because like both of them don't have to come down at once. It's just where you are positionally will determine whether they come down or not. But I feel like if I'm too far down, then I'm also gonna get jumped at. So I don't know. I gotta find the sweet spot for the Gibble spawn. I think everything else I understand how to do, and I can experiment with those. Just the two Gibbles I'm not comfortable with. If I'm there with multiple people, it super doesn't matter. Because normally you just have like one person line up Gibbles and that's it. So it is what it is. I'll think about it. If I ever want to get serious about that run, I'll think about it a bit more. I did it correctly, I think like once or twice last year, but I'm like, I just don't remember. This is what happens when you don't do the run for a while. Let me think. I guess while I'm waiting for people, guess I'll switch characters. I'll do one thing in episode 1 while we wait. You never know. Then I might go back to episode 2 experimentation. Go get a Psycho Wand. Probably Demon Mechs as well. Assuming it takes me to Ruins. Cat probably knows where I'm going with that comment. There's only one quest I run that goes to Ruins, honestly. Which is kind of a shame. I guess it just speaks to how much I'm not interested in the normal playthrough of those. Oh, who's my Psycho Wand? Is it... see, chat. Can I remember from last session who has Psycho Wand? I think it's this character. Otherwise, I'm gonna look it up real quick. I need the Psycho Wand, regardless. Like, if I don't need it literally on this quest, I need it for probably bonus sessions between today and tomorrow. I haven't played Linkin Park in a while. It's not Valentine. It wouldn't be Hot Stuff. Although Hot Stuff is pretty fun. I could host some episode 4 with him at some point, just to do some Red ID runs. I think I was using the FOnewearl there for episode 4. Oh. He doesn't have it. I mean, he has a Gafoe merge, which is important. Wait, who has my Psycho One then? Processing. Did I leave it on... my other FOnewearl? There's not many forces I've played during this event. That's why I'm kind of thinking through. I thought it was him when we were doing episode 4. But if I was doing TTF runs, it's possible I left it on her. But I thought I didn't have it last time on Dumpling. It's like, there's no way I brought it with Static Thick, and I haven't played Waluigi or Mr. Freeze. And I wouldn't have brought it on my Viridian Force. I don't like to put those kinds of items on him. We're using deductive reasoning. Oh, Summit Moon's there. Unless Cycle Wand is at like the bottom of the menu. Weird. I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss menu and put it in another bank. Give me one moment, chat. Sorry about the delay here. But I do need this item. I think the worst part is every time I go to do the character name thing, when you go to look up your data, I typed my username in wrong once, and now every time I go to the site, it keeps trying to type it in wrong. Like, please don't mistype my username. It's really annoying. I really did put it on my Viridian? I really thought I didn't do that. I must have been very bored when I did that. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, I really don't remember using... I mean, maybe I used it for... we did do TTF with him, don't get me wrong, but it was like... I thought I was just using Fire Scepter. Whatever. Let's go get that off him now. Then we'll proceed. I think the big issue with like the level 200 characters is I just have like no incentive to use them, especially if I'm doing solo runs, because it's like all that XP I'm getting and while not receiving any items. Could have been going to another character. That's my philosophy. Some people are just like, oh, it's my character and he's done. I get to play the character I want, and I'm like, no, it just means that the runs feel really empty. And I'm like, if I want to have enjoyment, I gotta be leveling. It softens the blow of just literally getting nothing endlessly. So like, am I ever gonna bother capping his HP or TP? Probably never. I don't think that'll be a goal within my PSO lifetime. I'm like, he's already max level, I don't care anymore. I barely play him as is. Yeah, the fact that the FOnewearls and the FOnewearl have more hours than him show you, like, when I played basically a lot of episode 4 Christmas event, and then I played a lot of episode 4 Green ID, let me tell you, on this character, it just kind of cut down the play hours I want to put into the character. Yeah, that FOnewearl was, I want to say like 80% episode 4 and like 20% TTF. Back when you could still get V101, because I was thinking like, oh, he'll do decent damage versus falls. And it's true, he just couldn't hit him at the level that I was playing, so it's like I didn't end up enjoying it as much as I thought I would. It is what it is. What I'm gonna do, let's experiment slightly. I don't need God Technique since I'm not looking to use me good. How many smart links do I have? Just 2? I need to get more smart links. Unfortunately, that sounds like we'll be playing Purple ID at some point. Or Pod. That's usually where I pick them up while doing other things. Let's try this. Okay, let's get started for real. Love this gives you defense. Same amount as Glide Divine. Same power too. Yeah, I think, honestly, Orange ID Episode 1, this quest has been, like, one of my favorite quests. Because for a long time, I honestly just didn't have a quest I enjoyed playing on Orange ID. It's not that they didn't have them, I just didn't like any of them. This is, like, the perfect quest. I get to play Caves, which is, like, and it's not a Lily run. Which is probably the most important statement I need to make there. I get to do something other than Lily runs. And then I get to play a little bit of Ruins, because I barely play any Ruins. And then I still potentially end up at Falls or Big Value. So this is the kind of quest I'm kind of looking for. I like high enemy density quests. I don't like a lot of runs. I don't like a lot of needing to teleports in order to satisfy the quest. And there is like a decent amount of walking in the quests, but you can see like I'm actually doing stuff throughout, so it's not too big of a deal. God, I need to kill him because I don't have cure paralysis. I realized that the moment I did that, I was like, oh, I should have done a lightning there first. Oh, it just loves taking me to Ruins. I feel like it has a predisposition for me to go to Ruins. I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like if you look at our average amount of times going between, like, Mines and Ruins, it has picked Ruins a lot. I was really shocked the other stream that we did, we got anything going to Mines, to be honest with you. So I would not be surprised if this also leads to Falls. I'd be more shocked if I got bonus room, to be honest. The other enemies are pretty far away, I don't need to worry about that. Oh, him hitting me actually mattered there. That sucks. And I feel like things like Photon Filter have decent value. A lot of hard ups there, which are okay. Like, nothing that you would hunt when you're, like, first starting out. I'm kind of okay with the general value here. I realized there's something I should have done there, but that's fine. I need to start with lightning to kill their first crystal. It's been a while since I did single player. I'm like, wait, I actually have to care about this. Oh, almost got him. And the damage is so good. Once I get rid of their crystals, they're really not a problem in single player. It's just more of a how do I kill them efficiently from that point. So my answer has just been Demon Mech Gun. You can see, like, I could actually kill them with ATP, and it is so much faster than using Tex. Like, no contest, this gun is, like, so good in her hands. It deals with, like, with one of her biggest problem enemies in single player. Like, 186 ATP, not even max ATP, still kills, like, infinitely faster than a fully kitted out character. It's kind of wild. It shows how bad a matchup it is versus Force here. That is really annoying that they knocked me away from destroying those. I gotta be careful. I'm gonna hopefully freeze a couple and then kill these guys so they stop hitting me. Yeah, like, look how fast that kill was. She is not killing that fast ever with Tex. Also, what the heck was that? Like, spinning around. Hello? Or my demon mechs? Oh, come on. Come on, you gotta proc demons a little more than that. Thank you. Indeed. Jerks. I'm gonna reset the room real quick. Or I'll get tagged resetting a room, that's fine. Okay, I killed the thing that I was actually worried about. Now I could do whatever I want in this room. Damn, they got 3 sealed. I also don't like going this route, to be honest. This is probably my least favorite route through ruins. I prefer the other route. This one could get kind of annoying just because there's so many enemies. Like, I can't physically debuff them all. Which is shockingly more of a problem than you think it would be. Especially a solo force. Like, I just couldn't possibly debuff them all. So I'm just gonna take 1,000,000 damage here. I'm gonna at least try to freeze these so I have a chance of doing something. Okay, there we go. I'm getting rid of Indie Bellroad while they heal. I used Dawn to turn around. Come on. I'm like, as long as I land the shots there, it should be fine. I like that I barely moved and he still got me. What a jerk. Wow, the fact that I killed the Darkbringer while doing that is so disrespectful. Didn't even look at him, Chad. He's already dead. Go to the other side of the room and clean up here. Guess I'll get the defense material. Yeah, honestly, FOnewearl damage not bad. Any luck today? Asked Calvisham. We just started. Answer's no. Hope you're doing well. Unfortunately, I'm kind of a weird spot. Come over here. Yeah, that should cut them off. As I said before, I don't like going this route normally, so I'm not as practiced against it. The problem with this is that there's Darkbringers and Sorcerers. So I have to kind of pick and choose here. I think I need to kill the Darkbringers a little more than I need to kill the Sorcerers. I'm gonna come over here, because Sorcerers are currently uncontrolled. I'm gonna force them to come to me. If I get really lucky freezes, the sorcerers aren't a problem, but I saw that they didn't freeze, so I had to back up there. I think I froze one, but I didn't get both. Damn, that damage is so good. Look at that damage. 7 health? Come on. What a tease. You know what? Get Kafoid out of here. Teleport out of that, alright, chat? Had enough of you. I might get lasered here. Fun. Do this to clean up some of these guys. Yeah, this is what I was saying before when I played. I think it was last week. Normally those wolf claws are not supposed to hit you when you're casting techs. Like, we saw there that it was like actively trying to hit me but couldn't. But last time I did that, it did actually hit me out of there, and I was like very annoyed by that. Because I'm like, normally just spamming raw techs is, you know, it just dodges every attack. I don't even think there's like a rhythm to it, honestly. You just do it and it happens. Okay, I gotta retreat since I didn't freeze the target in front of me. Annoying. Oh, that actually killed me. I was getting ready to trimate. That's annoying. More shocked by that than anything else. Yeah, this room, the start of this room is very awkward for Sorcerer. I don't know of a good way to do it. It's one of those things where, like, there's 2 problem enemies, and I just don't know what to do with this character versus 2 sets of problem enemies. Like, if I don't freeze the Darkbringers, I get smacked for like 1,000,000 damage, and I get knocked down all the time, as you saw what happened there. That's fine. I'll take advantage of being knocked down there. But, like, if I don't use lightning... Come on. Seriously? Seriously, I missed that many demons. Now I'm just getting annoyed. I'm gonna move. We're not. Stuck. Fortunate. Waste of escape doll. But anyway, it's kind of like I have to rely on RNG freeze because I just don't know of another way to do that room. And it's probably my only room I don't like to do, aside from the This has been a lot of rooms I don't like to do in Ruins, which is fine, it happens. Every wave after this, I don't care about it. It's just coming into a room where it's both Bringers and Sorcerer is like the FOnewearl nightmare. That's like... I'm thinking I might have to switch weapons to try to go for a Barda kill over Raw Barda. And Psycho 1 was just not fast enough. Like, it just wasn't. It needs to be able to kill in like 4 hits. I'm gonna do this to stop them from charging. Oh, look how much damage she took there. Like, that's wild. Absolutely wild. But anyway. Like, now I don't care about this room. I'll just do it at my own pace. But the issue is just, like, if you spam Rabarda, or not Rabarda, if you spam Razond to go deal with all the Sorcerers, then you trigger the Darkbringers, which are definitely going to kill me, because I don't have 1400 health. And this character, just for clarity, I think is one of the few where I actually bothered to have max HP material. That's like... I guess in theory I could equip a heavenly HP to survive. But do I really want to trigger that many Darkbringers? But anyway, guess we'll find out. To no one's surprise, Chad, I got falls. This is up before. It's more of a surprise to me when I go to the bonus room. I don't care about falls. Falls is easy. I will take falls over that room solo force all day. But oh well, it's a small price to pay in order to check the bonus room. So yeah, so she's very good at killing with Barda in 3 touches. But I think what I'll need to do is I'll need to bring in the, I think it's called the Club of Adamant for the 40% Barda. Because I think she's still wearing a Congeal Cloak, so it's not like I don't do buffed ice damage, yeah. Because I knew this would be like that kind of quest that we would be spamming it. Oops, I was curious about something. Works a little better for me. Like that she could just one-shot these without having the right wand. That's FOnewearl privilege right there. The problem is, I just don't have a setup for falls. Should have gone back for the Summit Moon. Oh well. At least she's a FOnewearl, so I can kind of do whatever I want. We'll get through it. Literally and figuratively, as the game clips me into the boss. Yeah, like this is where Club of Adamant would be useful, because I could do bonus Barda damage here. Joke's on you, slow-mo doesn't impact text. Oh, I was gonna call the boss's bluff. I was like, go ahead, aim at me. Look what happens. Wow, that did so little damage. That was actually kind of wild. I'm gonna let you witness that again. That did 100 damage to me. Holy. Yeah, you're not doing anything. You're in my world now, boss. Damn, FOnewearl, tanky. Who would have thought? The lowest HP character taking legit nothing from the final boss of episode 1. Like, nice try, I guess, Falls. Everybody else, it's like an instant party wipe for all these leveling players. Meanwhile, FOnewearl, like, teehee, that tickled. What a character, chat. Power of resistances is very true. She's got Congeal Cloak on and 3 seals, so she is taking no damage with Glide Divine. Boss could do whatever it wants, it's not gonna work. Oh, and I'm pretty happy about that damage, to be honest with you. Sack a couple of Gufoi here for bonus damage. Problem is I gotta heal like every other foe. This should work though. Get out of here. Oh, it has the Samurai Warrior 1 songs in the playlist. Like, wait a minute, this is technically in Samurai Warriors 2. I just wasn't expecting to hear it. Hold on, we're doing unironic box opening. Let's go. Power of Zond. Take that, boxes. Man, these box drops are terrible. Rip the drops. So yeah, I gotta think about that last room, because that one is more likely to come up than having the bad path. I don't feel like learning the bad path, whereas learning how to do that other room more successfully is easy. Because normally in multiplayer, right, you would just freeze trap it up and it's not a problem. But in single player as a force, there are just too many problem enemies all close together. So I wonder if I should also just try purely running past, like just going on the other side of the room to split them up. It feels like it's slower, which is why I've been like really hesitant to do that. I wasn't sure if there's a way to just guarantee that I could kill in time and then not have to worry about RNG teleporting sorcerers or deal with Omega Blast from Angry Centaurs. Like, I guess it's like, I guess in that room I could try to switch to Rabarta Merge to kill them faster. Just thinking about what I could do. Because I mean, I was using Psycho Wand and that still wasn't fast enough. I'll have to think about it. Maybe the correct play is Rabarta Merge into... Maybe it's debuff into Rabarta in case I don't get the freeze. I'm just thinking about it. Like, there's definitely a way to solve that room, don't get me wrong, but it just like, See, now if using Jellin worked on the Omega Blast from Darkbringer, then I wouldn't care. That also would be a big thing. So I guess it would be debuff, Rabarta Merge. And then just railgun out the Razan, maybe? Maybe that'll work. As I said before, I think I was like one cast too slow to kill them. So even just a little bit of bonus damage from Rabarta Merge might actually make a difference. It's the difference between me popping a crystal and not popping a crystal. Anyway, nobody's available. I'm willing to retry the run to see if I get ruins. Otherwise, I'm gonna go to episode 2. Oh. Doing a dance. So, what would you like to do? Episode 2? Sure, we could do episode 2. Yeah, I'd probably switch into a ranger. I could bring traps for the Romars, small shifter, and that should probably be fine for most areas. And I think we can officially begin story time. I'll leave her with Smart Link because I think that's useful. I'll probably keep her with the Bringer's Rifle in case I forget a Demon Mech, so I can actually do something in multiplayer against the Sorcerers, because she really does nothing in multiplayer. It's so bad, the matchup of her versus Sorcerer. It's so sad. I've been leveling up my pink RACaseal quite a bit. I think her damage is slowly getting there. It feels way better than when I first started the event. At least I'm combo killing now. your ID is red. But there's really exciting things to hunt for red ID in episode 2. Nothing really pops to mind when it comes to that. I guess like technically tower, but I don't know. I don't really want to do tower. Let's start with this and let's think about it for a second. The spaceship is pretty free with our team. Seabed would be rough, only because my health total kind of sucks. Like, our team comp is actually not bad for Seabed, it's just my level's too low. Make sure I get my hell items. That should be fine. And she still has the Brand's launcher, so should be good there. I'm looking at the episode 2 quest list to feel inspired. I'm not doing story mode today. I'm not feeling up to that. Let's see. And just do generically fun quests. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. Let's do like a penumbral surge or something. We haven't done those in a while. Alright, so now that I can divert some attention to thinking about stories while navigating and walking around. I forgot it started up here. Yeah, we should stick together since we're less than 4 player, which I really like about this quest. I really like the quest for that. But anyway, from the standpoint of story time, there have finally been major consequences at work. I've been waiting for that. We're gonna start off with work story, and then we'll go to D&D stories. I'm telling you, chat, listen, I like giving people a fair chance. Chat knows I support streamers, I support charities, I do all these other things, but man oh man, if you are a dead weight at work, I'm like, what a relief to not have to deal with you anymore. Cannot understate how much I was happy that somebody was like, listen, they could do whatever they want, they'll get a job elsewhere. But when you're in like a really serious line of business that impacts people's lives, I really want to make sure that we're not just putting in like half-ass stuff. Kind of a disservice to the people that we serve. So there was kind of like a incident last week that spurred the whole thing, and it was bad. Especially anybody that has done development knows how bad it is to potentially hand over to like the equivalency of like your quality assurance team slash the business unit slash ATCSU. It's many titles depending on where we're talking about here, and then just have a really bad build. If you're only working on like one thing and you botch the build so bad that you have to get like upper management involved, it wastes everybody's time. Like, listen, you have to be able to trust that whatever it is they're testing is whatever it is you want to send to production. Welcome, Rave. So they were causing a lot of undue stress due to just very poor management of deployments and such like that from my side. Caused a massive headache. Not to mention just like generally not doing what they should do. Thank you for wishing me well. I think I might have mentioned this last time, but I was saying like, you know it's not good when work calls you on vacation to complain about something. because they've messed up that terribly. I'm like, the last thing I'm gonna do while I'm on my way to a funeral is deal with work problems that they've caused. Completely avoidable work problems. So that's one thing down. One less stress in my life is gone. That's good. Hopefully we'll find some people that will take it a bit more seriously with project management and rule set management. So, I guess we'll talk about D&D in just a moment then. I don't really have too much else to say about the work story. It's been a long time coming. I just hope that we can eventually get somebody that's more confident. I guess the best way to put it. That works. The D&D story. Let's talk about D&D for a little bit. So I just went to D&D the other night. And I have to give credit where credit is due. It wasn't like a total train wreck. It actually had moments where it was about where it should have been. Shockingly. I was like, it actually took me aback because we were having, I would say, you know, the breakdown of combat versus like roleplay was like maybe 90% combat and like 10% roleplay. But this session was more like 60-40. It actually was like a more standard amount. To the point where I was not prepared to do it because I was just expecting most of it to get fast forwarded. That's another point. Get rid of these enemies. So I think that at least allowed people to shine at the table, which I think was like one of the few positive moments. I think since I've joined the D&D game, where I would say it went fine. It wasn't like the most amazing thing ever, but it also was like probably the least contentious. So, you know, I mean, I guess an improvement is an improvement, so you gotta give credit where credit is due. But oh boy, were the combats a mess. So that unfortunately has not changed. I think the major takeaway is that it is really important as a DM to keep track of combat order. Like, to some extent it's on the players, but like, it's like 20% players, 80% DM, to be real honest with you. Like, sometimes you could skip people, but if you're also using like an initiative tracker, that also shouldn't really happen. So we had like just a total garbled mess when it came to that kind of stuff in D&D. I mean, at one point he asked us to roll initiative twice in the same combat, and I'm like, what? That's not a thing. I think he just got confused. I don't think it was like a rules moment. I think he just honestly was not writing down the initiative, and he forgot for some reason in the middle of combat. I feel like he's still trying to cheat in stuff like surprise rounds, and that's why next time there's basically an agreement that we're going to be using a tracker. So hopefully that issue is now actually resolved for real this time. So I think I'm gonna whip out like a little app or something to help with it. And as I said before, the 20% of the players problem is that sometimes like people just don't realize like how disruptive they're being, or in turns they just aren't prepared for their turn. So if the turn starts to drag out forever, it is definitely easy to forget whose turn it is. If they start having like sidebar conversations, that's where I say it's like 20% player. I mean, ultimately it's up to the game master or DM to keep things on track. Like, it's still something they have to do. Oh, I got lasered off. Right. Oh, I'm sad we can't go up there. I like that warp a little better. So yeah, so I can't tell if it was just he wanted it to get a surprise round and watched it, or like genuinely forgot, because it was weird. This is the before. I've played D&D for a while. I've never seen a DM ask for initiative twice in the same combat. I could legitimately say that is the first time ever in any game I've seen somebody ask for initiative twice. And it was after actions were taken. It wasn't like we did something, pause, and then the combat resumed. It was they attacked, we rolled initiative, somebody went in between, and then he asked again, and I'm like, what? I don't know. It was just weird. Take that, boxes. So I could see like where the attempt was. So I would say from like a story perspective, I'm still not like happy with where the story is going. I'm not gonna say DM PC, but it's definitely overpowered PC is interacting with the party. NPC, I mean. So, you know, it's building somewhere in the story, don't get me wrong, but it's at the same time, it's not the most exciting thing ever because it's not really why I started playing. I just don't really care about the character that's been introduced. That was such a good shot. Essentially, it's like, how to summarize it without going into too many details that are not needed. It's like the child is basically like the child of two gods, essentially, and they're having a custody battle for said character. So the child is just like super overpowered. But the thing is like, that's not... I mean, maybe that's where he was going with the campaign. I wasn't there for, like, the first couple of sessions. But I can tell you that this is, like, the first time I've had to interact with the kid in the campaign itself. And I told him, like, I don't really care about this character. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't get why we're doing half of the things we're doing other than DM wants you to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like... Wouldn't I want to kill this character if they're birthed between, like, two demon gods? Why are we taking care of this kid? I like so many questions. So, like, I as a player and a character have, like, no motivation to interact with that plot whatsoever. So, I'm just kind of... I'm rolling with it. I'm not, like, trying to sabotage the party or anything, but at the same time, I'm like... I'm not gonna go super far out of my way to help you. I will help the party survive. I will not... super care about other things there. Oh, set on Rappies, rip Rappies. So it's definitely very awkward when you're like. Let me back up one step actually. So there was like a faux pas, I guess, in the RP section, and I think it's as I said before. I think part of it is the DM does not like me. I think I've stated this on a couple of other sessions, and I feel like in particular it came up there that the DM does not like me because it felt like he was kind of like what I forgot to describe the gesture, the kind of the thumb flick disrespect towards my character happened again in this session, which again is like really childish. I'm just like, really? So one thing that's kind of annoying, and I think I talked about this before, is I'm an artificer. So this is like the first opportunity I have to do crafting in the game since I've started, since we've not really had a lot of down... Oh, I died. Oh, my bad. I thought that was going to kill him. Rip. Hellchance said no. So it's kind of unfortunate from the standpoint of... Oh, that actually killed me. That's also unfortunate because I didn't even think he would reach me from there. Back-to-back deaths. I'm just standing up and I get hit again. I'm so sad. Damn, can't even get the revenge kill with Hell. Where my V502 at. Well, anyway. So, this is like the first big opportunity we've had to actually go through and craft items for the first time as an artificer. So, I want to set context again for people that were not following the story from other sessions. We are like a level 12 party. Like, we're like decently through the progression system of D&D. Like, by no means are we like an early game party. So I'm just asking for like really basic items here in a major city in which we have connections to the king and queen of the place. And so one of the things is like, our defense is terrible. It is like super bad for our level, to the point where it's like, I don't even know how the party has survived up until me joining, to be honest with you. Like I would not be surprised if they rolled more than one set of characters at this point. But I haven't asked, I'm just assuming, based off of defense totals. So like, we have a frontliner who only has like 17 AC at level 12. Give you an idea, you could very easily go over 20 AC by like level 3. So enemies have like a 15-30% range extra chance of hitting us, as we have just received nothing in terms of like defense upgrades. So logically, I'm thinking, you know, I can't ask for anything too wild, and other party members are not super experienced. Like there's maybe one person at the table that's played a lot of 5th edition, and then like some mixed experience, and then mostly new players. They don't know better. So I'm looking to say like, okay, we really need to pump up our AC. It's super terrible. So I'm just looking for an uncommon item, which is like kind of unfortunately one of the gray areas in 5th edition. I don't even know if I can fault the DM on that, because I just think it's kind of garbage in 5th edition, and one of the reasons I really don't like 5th edition is that there's not really a lot to do with your money in 5th edition other than like politics and like kingdom building, which is like okay when the campaign sets up for that. But like if the campaign doesn't have that, then you don't really get to do anything with your money. Because sometimes 5th edition just says you can't buy magic items, you can't get anything of interest, yada yada yada. So I was like, okay, maybe I could at least get away with uncommon items, right? Like common items, I would assume you could still get at stores to some extent, or at least be able to put in orders for them. Yeah, and then it's just like, okay, so I just want some uncommon defense. Just like Cloak of Protection +1. We have like 5,000 plus gold in the party. Like we are by no means poor either. So I'm like, we have a lot of money and nothing to spend it on. So I'm like, can I craft something? Or can I barter with anybody in order to get these items? Like I left it pretty open, right? Like it depends on how much you want to do their terrible recipe system or whatever. But like, I'm an artificer. Like I have to try to craft magic items. It's kind of the point of the character, to be honest with you. And so I submit him these things because he doesn't tell me until like 3 days. Like, just also for one more point of clarity, we meet once a month. So he tells me 3 days before the event that, oh, by the way, there's a massive time skip. So I'm not really given a chance to prepare, because this is the first time a time skip has happened ever at this point in the campaign, where I'm like, oh, you know, most of the time it's just been like 1 day later. So you can't really take advantage of those kinds of things in the 1 day time span, given that most of that is actually not going to be downtime. So it's just kind of unfortunate, you know. I'm just looking to power up the, not even me, I'm looking to power up the party. I specifically said local protections for everybody. Maybe if there's a shield +1, if I can make one of those, it's fine. Like we're talking like very typical like crazy items, right? And so like I sit there and he's like trying to fast forward like the events of the month, and I'm like, okay, can you just tell me if I have these items or not? And then he's like, oh yeah, I read your thing, but I didn't actually look at your list or anything yet. And I'm like, really? I'm like, listen, I'm already annoyed as a player because you asked me last minute on this thing, and I still did it a day in advance. And then I'm like, you haven't even decided on how that works yet? Oh, I'm going back for that try. So I'm like already not thrilled to hear that as a player. Those are words you really don't want to hear. Like if you're telling people to do something by like Thursday, and then you give it to them by Thursday, and then they don't read it, like what was the point of asking me? I could have just told you while we were at the table at that point. So minor gripe aside, I'm basically told that I just can't get any magic items, and the most I could do is craft potions. And I'm like, I'm not an alchemist. So this is not really exciting for me in any sense of the word. Oh, right, I forgot there was a healing circle here. Alright, I'll be able to touch that on the way back. I'm still 95, sadly. So kind of a big letdown to come in as an artificer, not be allowed to get any magic items to really catch up with the party. Then I'm not allowed to craft anything. And then the most I'm really told is I can make very basic healing potions. Like that's very boring for a character that is geared around crafting, let me tell you. I'm like, I understand that there's some control, and technically you could say it's DM's caveat, right? Like whether or not to allow crafting, and that's where like I can't argue with it because 5th edition is kind of garbage like that. I'll be real with you. It's really stupid. I really hate that concept. But from the standpoint of like, if a character has things like magic item added, like it is literally a class feature, it feels really bad to just not be able to use it for anything other than like an extremely limited subset of items. To the point where it's like, it's not really worth my time to do. So that kind of sucks that one of the class features I have just doesn't do anything. So again, it kind of goes into the, I'm not going to call it spiteful, like it is just one of those issues with 5th edition. And it, you know, DM rolling is DM rolling. You can't really argue with that. But it still feels pretty terrible to pick a character that is specifically geared for crafting and to not discuss that with the player, that this is not going to be a thing that is really allowed. And as I said before, I'm not going for like weird, you know, super gimmicky splat book stuff. It's just, I want a +1. Like, I'm just like, we're level 12, I want a +1. I'm sorry. That's not the most wild thing out there. I kept it very, very vanilla, with the expectation that I would still be able to at least get it, or at least work out a deal with somebody to get it, right? Because that, like, that's the other caveat, is that 5th edition has the concept of... I didn't realize there was a Lily in the room. I looked at the enemy reader too slow. I deserve that. Stupid lilies. So it's just kind of the concept of 5th edition where they want items to be very exciting. The problem with it is, like, now let's compare my request compared to what the rest of the party has. So I want chat to be aware. I am level 12 in this game. I have not received a single magic item as a level 12 character who's an artificer, who's not allowed to craft magic items. But we have people in the party that have Bracers of Defense, which is a rare level item. They have multiple high-level rare melee weapons, like Scimitar of Speed, for example. Frostfang, I think, is another example. And multiple ones. And I'm like, I can't get the most basic of basics. That is one of those moments where even in universe, if the intent was not to allow players to make the items, it's pretty shitty, chat. Let me be real honest with you. That is pretty shitty, because I'm like, I have not picked up a single upgrade since I picked the game up, to the point that I'm still using the equivalency of starting gear. Like, it is that bad, chat. Like, had I not used basically infusions to give myself any bonuses, I would have 0 magic items, by the way, chat. Like, that is really, really bad on the DM's part. I will always call that out for just being absolute nonsense. So, fortunately, I like the players at the table for the most part. So, I'm willing to put up with the DM in order to just spend time with them at that point and let them do whatever they want. But man, from a player experience, that feels super terrible. So anyway, so after, like, I requested for him to do these items, and that was the whole reason I was not really going to interact too much with the other characters while I was in the downtime, because the whole thought process was that I would be crafting or making deals in order to prepare the party for war, right? Then he takes that as a, oh, you didn't say that you spent a lot of time with this NPC, so he just hates you now. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, If I would have written something different if you had responded back to me. If you told me I couldn't do these things, I would have done something different with my time. So I'm not a fan of that. So I guess my takeaway from the standpoint of making sure that if players spend time writing out plans, you at least talk to them about it before the game and give them a chance to change stuff. Not that I really recommend that they should be writing like this massive essay of stuff at any point. But it's definitely another just... It's really hard to not feel like it is spiteful towards a player. Like, they're... Individually, maybe you could say those things are, like, not specifically to spite a player and it just happens. But, like, when they keep happening every session and there's always an issue, I'm like, I am convinced the DM does not like me. He is repeatedly... Oh, also, he did the thing again where he's like, oh, I don't really remember you interacting with this character. I don't really remember you doing something. So you know what I did, chat? Because he did that to me for the 3rd time, by the way, in this campaign. You know what I did? I had my moment in the game, and I'm so happy. I set this moment up all by myself. DM did not give me the chance to do, you know, the moments I wanted to do in the game. So in the downtime... I was talking about how, because now I was bored, because I'm not really allowed to interact with the NPC, because he doesn't like me. So I'm like, I don't really have anything to do. So I talk about how, like, while they're doing whatever in the location that they're in, that I'm basically shooting something, like, full of targets in order to, like, prep for battle, is what I'm telling them. Where, like, this is how I'm choosing to spend the time, while keeping watch over the party, etc., etc. So that way I'm like very close nearby, but don't need to specifically interact with the character that doesn't like me. And then specifically from that standpoint, I talk about how like I'm practicing with the hand crossbow. I'm slowly going from about 2 attacks a second to 3 attacks a second. To kind of like talk about in like kind of a sort of metagamey thing, but talking about how my character is leveled up between sessions, is getting extra attacks. So I'm like talking about how I'm refining my shooting speed. And I said, you know, I tell the party at one point, I'm like, my record's 3. I'm slowly improving. And so we inevitably get attacked there because the DM loves to attack us and try to ambush us and do all this other nonsense. So he ends up summoning this, I think it's like a frog hemoth creature, to try to do battle with the party. And it gets like a sneak attack, because of course it does. And like half the party is like preoccupied with this thing. And so I talk about it when it comes to my turn in initiative finally, where I'm like, I look at the target board, I look at the enemy, and I say, I think I'm gonna go ahead and break my own record. And I use haste, plus all the bonus actions from Crossbow Master, to do 4 attacks. And I annihilate the boss monster, chat. Let me tell you, I shut that fight down so hard. He even did a double take. He's like, how much damage did you do? I'm like, 79. I think he was surprised because he hadn't given me like any items for damage. He's like, how did you do that much damage? And I'm like, listen, I'll walk you through. I'll walk you through, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, when you land the 4 hits, oh. The look on his face when I killed his boss monster, when I had enough, it was beautiful. I didn't even crit. There wasn't even, it was just, I'm like, oh, you gave me a big dumb target? You think I'm not gonna use sharpshooter? You're a fool. Right, chat? You're a fool. Sharpshooter's so good. And hey, I as a player get to recognize he summoned a giant monster that has lower AC. So of course I'm gonna abuse things that lower my attack in order to do massive damage. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I do that? That's what a smart player would do. Put away some items, actually, to think about what quests to do. So I think this is the first time he has acknowledged me in-game as doing something important. Even though I've been hard carrying, like, not every combat, but a lot of the combats. Like, I am the tank and enabling the rogue and also healing and also doing, like, 20 to 30 damage every turn. Just, like, you know, I'm not gonna be, like, the biggest burst of damage usually. But, you know, it is really consistent damage. I'm not using spell slots for it, kind of thing. Let's see. Where can we go next? Guess we could do... I think maximum attack EVR should work. Other temple stage. So anyway, yeah, I killed this big bad boss monster. I had enough of the fight, chat. I'm like, listen, other party members were swinging for like 20. The rogues were like really far away from combat because he just wanted to make the scenario as unfair as possible. So I think he wanted to kind of have his moment to beat the players or at least humble them. And I'm like, you don't understand. You have no idea the extent of my power. I'm like, I'm now annoyed at you. And trust me, there are more ways I could have broken it if I really wanted to. Like, I could just create Boots of Flying with Artificer. I could very much just take those and be like, what are you going to do? You think you're going to do anything to me with normal enemies? When I have a hand crossbow that shoots up to 120 feet with no penalties due to feats? You think I care about a big outdoor fight? Right, chat? You're thinking in like 2 dimensions. I'll do 3D combat on you. You won't like that. So anyway, so if he continues to escalate, I'm just gonna use fly every combat. To be real with you. So it's like, even then, I'm still trying to keep it within somewhat respectful bounds. I'm trying not to like hard break the game, but at the same time, I'm like, no. We have to make sure that they respect the player damage. And I feel like I had my moments, you know, even though I wasn't expecting to roleplay. I did have, you know, understanding of the plot, I guess, and try to progress them in a sense. So I felt like at least I contributed to the plot, even if I wasn't like a big player talking to the NPC that hates me for obvious reasons. Unfortunately, these guys are a little out of range. I'm gonna use Heaven Striker. Oh, come on. Really? At least I have quintuple killed. That made me feel a little better. That was like the moment I went to shoot the hell shot, I got hit. I was unlucky. Normal, it's unlocking. You're dead. You're dead. And that literally does not want to get held. Fair. It's not like the highest chance ever of landing it. Yeah, I'm gonna use Baran's launcher here with some ice. It helps significantly with the clear. A little confused trap down. Bought me some time here as I get knocked down. So anyway, I killed his big bad boss monster equivalency. I'm not really sure why he thought that was gonna do anything. Like, I don't want to metagame or anything, but like, I generally don't remember that being something applicable to like a 6-person party in, what's it called? In terms of like CR. Like, I know vaguely what level it should be, having played a lot of D&D before, and I'm telling you it's not 12. If I had to guess... Oh, I died. I deserve that. I should have shot it with something other than Baran's launcher. Baran's too slow. I deserve that. So, from the standpoint of... you know, I have a rough idea, because if it's like a really common D&D enemy, I probably played with it before, but in like 3.5. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I'm sure there's differences, but at the same time, I'm like... I don't think this is going to be a big threat to me, and it was a good estimation. So first combat, I styled on his boss monster that he wanted to be a big threat, which again I don't think was appropriately challenge rated. He probably should have had it with some additional creatures. Assuming it's somewhere between CR 10 and 12, because there's no way a single monster can deal with the 6-person party. It would have to be like some absolutely disgusting over CR'd monster, and I did not get that feeling, given it died in like 160 points worth of damage. I would guess it had about 160-ish. Oh, nice, I got an accuracy point. That's actually huge. Why did I get hit? I feel like I'm being cheated. Like, I'm actively just attacking and I'm getting hit by them. Like, please stop hitting me. Not fair. Well, I guess in a way, my death earlier was just for retrapping. That's what we'll call it. 100% intentional retrap. That way I could do stuff like this. The Baran's launcher duo is quite nice. So, yeah. So, I mean, like, as I said before, he feels very spiteful, I guess I'll say. I mean, I guess in some ways, I'm happy I got to make some potions, but again, they were very boring healing potions. So they are what they are. I think otherwise, let me think. I mean, I guess it was neat that he gave the player some time to talk about, you know, the base building up now that the other character was there. Like, that was like a positive thing. Like, I don't want to say that there were no positives. It's just easier to focus on negatives. So I thought that at least was somewhat interesting and I guess decent as a DM to let the players do. I think otherwise, though. Yeah, I love the where he's like, oh, I don't remember if you interacted with the NPC. I'm like, okay. Okay. Rid of these enemies. Rid of you. Also, just so you know, just to be clear about the kid hates you, and it's like, oh, it's because you chose not to interact with him. There's literally another player that doesn't even interact with the party at all, and he also did not have any penalties and attitude. Just me, by the way. Just to be clear that it's not just oh, it's because you didn't write it that way and it was a bad call of the DM. There was somebody else that did even less than me in interacting with the person, and the kid had no issues with them. I'm like, okay. Thank you, thinly veiled feelings of DM. Thank you. Oh, man. But that second encounter was an absolute mess. As I said before, double initiatives. Just, I don't know. Hopefully I can dodge the shot here. It sounds like the music paused. I'm gonna take this opportunity to fix it. There we go. And because like there was so much messed up with the turn order, you basically could kind of do whatever he wanted because it was botched so poorly. So I realized later he's probably thinking about like the big cinematic scene again because the DM has an obsession with that. But like he fumbled the ball so badly where I was like, oh, okay. I didn't feel like arguing because of the standpoint of ultimately the fight didn't matter. Where if something important had happened in the plot and we'd failed because of that, I absolutely would have been like having it out with the DM on the spot. But it was one of those things where I realized, oh, he just wanted to showcase something. He didn't actually want us to win the fight. Okay, that's whatever. It didn't impact us in a negative way, so I'm kind of okay with it. Did we bother fighting this? I guess we could if we really wanted to. This is Cannon Rouge time. So it's just one of those things where essentially he wanted a scene where I can tell you what he wanted and I can tell you how it went because I think that would help. He wanted a scene where essentially the kid that's with us gets kidnapped and it's revealed that he's like so strong and so powerful that he's able to communicate with this like high level monster and tell him to go away. The monster's gonna obey it, right? either hinting towards like lineage or just like general power of the character. The problem is that because he kept messing up the initiative so bad, he just started taking like double turns and like all this other stuff, and it was just really awkward because like I'm like, if you just want us to watch a cutscene, like write a novel, like why even involve the players at that point? Because that's essentially what happened, because he kept messing with turn order where like I would sometimes go before an enemy and then sometimes not, and I'm like, how are they allowed to react to me after doing this, or how are they getting double turns on me? Like, this is just really unfair. But fortunately, combat did not last more than a couple rounds, so there's that at least. I'll do my best to keep the Zuking here. It's nearly dead. Next time it beaches, it's probably dead. There we go. So that's a pretty bad impression to give to your players. Like, when you botch turn order so bad, like it wasn't targeted to me, just to be clear. Like, it was like such a fiasco. Like, he skipped like 2 people, and then he got the order wrong on some of the enemies, and then like he didn't know whose turn it was in general, and I'm like, oh man, what a that was a crash and burn. That was kind of rough to sit through. Yeah, it was like everything that could go wrong in D&D with combat happened, and it was because I don't know if he just failed to track. I mean, like, I'll give an example. So here's what you do as a DM in a paper game, right? You do the thing where you ask, who has an initiative that beats X or beats Y, and then say the next highest, and you form a list. And here's the other important point to that. When you... Oh, I forgot this went to Spaceship. I'm so used to resetting the quest, I honestly thought that it ended at Worm. I'm gonna be honest with you. I might as well just complete the quest. I don't think I've completed this quest, like, on stream ever. I'm so used to resetting there for doing rappies. I'm not even joking. This might be the first time on stream we have ever bothered to complete this quest. But I guess we're here now. I guess this works. So anyway, yeah, turn order completely hosed. And I'll tell you the hint. So once you have that initiative list, right, and you're in person, here's what you do. If it's a piece of paper, you either mark the paper as it goes to people's turns, or you have like something really small in order to indicate whose turn it is. It could be like, it could technically be like a paper clip that you slide along like the edge of a paper, right? So that way it's kind of like pointing at whose turn it is. Like, there's a lot of things you could do to be creative with it that doesn't require an app or digital. And I'm telling you, from having done these things, like, you do what you have to do to point at whose turn it is. So that way it's like never ambiguous what's happening. And also, I would say my takeaway, there were a couple players that could have done better in the combat. And I know some of them are like a little new, but at the same time, you shouldn't just be thinking about your turn on your turn. It just shows that you're just kind of like unfocused, and that also eats a lot of time. So like, I'll put a little bit of blame back on the players for that. Handgun gold has been found. Nice. Oh, that just knocks me down. It doesn't kill me. Checkmate. Well, I guess we might get Liberta kits since we're here. Who knows? So that's my little tech tip. Initiative is very easy to track if you just do it right at the start. Online programs are even easier because it automatically tracks whose turn it is. Just use them to advance the turn order. And obviously, you could do something similar with digital. But, you know, some people just prefer pen and paper. It's like, that's just what I recommend. I usually bring like a paper clip, as I said before. I just slide it along a piece. Especially if, or what I'll do is if I have like a dry erase, I'll do something similar. Well, where I'll start marking whose turn it is. So what I'll do is like, I'll put a little dot if it's their turn and continue going down. And then when the turn order resets, I just wipe the board real quick. Like, as I said before, there's a lot of things you could do, but like, it's super important to make sure that in order for it to be fair, you can't have characters suddenly reacting to actions that weren't able to do so before. So that leads to a very unfun player experience where it's like, oh, they saw that you used haste, well, we're gonna do this, and then we're also, because now turn order has been fixed the next turn, we're now gonna go twice before you go once. So you see what I mean? Like, it leads to a lot of problems where it's like, well, I wouldn't have done haste if I realized they were gonna do this. And whenever you're in... Oh, I didn't get to revive in time. I did try to use Moon there. So whenever you're in doubt, things should benefit the player. There we go, I mooned that time. Sadly, I'm a little low on freeze traps. I might even retrap on purpose. Sure, I have 100 now after that. So don't lead to bad playing experiences because you don't feel like tracking initiative. It's basically my takeaway. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with my character as is. My stats are pretty high because, you know, I'm level 12. I got a chance to get like one ability upgrade. The rest have been feats. Making sure nothing else is spawning in this room before we continue the conversation. Okay, there is. There we go. Cleaned out a few of these. Oh, man. So I think unanimously the party agreed that it was like a total mess at the end. And it's like, it actually wasn't like the worst idea ever. Like, I do like that, you know, using combat as a storytelling means is, you know, a good thing, I would say, actually. But just the execution was extremely subpar. And I think he realized his descriptions weren't the strongest. So I will say I do appreciate if he's not going to go into like really lengthy details under what it is that we're fighting, that he at least shows an image of the creature. I would say that was an improvement over last time. I definitely don't have anything wrong to say. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, normally when you're playing like digital, people will have icons for the monsters anyway. So in a way, like that happens in normal digital, but to be able to do that at like the pen and paper, like that was a good thing. This is up before. I'm trying to balance out the good and the bad. So it wasn't like a horror story like I was thinking it would be to tell today, but it's more of a cautious tale of just really make sure that you understand what you're doing with some of these rules and don't waste the player's time. I think he's trying to missile me, but I put myself in the little hallway, so he's not able to do so very consistently. He tried. Oh, no, it's this quest? Oh, I should have brought Frozen Shooter. Now I remember this room. Oh, I remember this room. I am so sorry for Imperameter. I am so sorry I don't have a Frozen Shooter. We're going to need another one here. I'm going to put a freeze trap here. Because I remember this being the Barads. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh no, I unfortunately remember this room. Okay, I'm gonna try my best to freeze them. Unfortunately, I'm now out of traps. I'll do my best. There's one more set of Barands, but I can't deal with them, sadly. It'll be after the Bell Sabers. We got through the bad ones. There's one more wave and like 3 enemy waves. Get rid of these guys real quick. Maybe. It might be Cubby hiding time. Not like, I think it's like in one more wave. I don't think it's this next wave. I'm pretty sure we are not done with the Barands. We got through like the sets. Because I'm like, that spawn pattern scarred me for a while when we were first playing. So we have definitely seen that enemy pattern on stream before. I don't die to them instantly, so I'm okay with being out in the open. But Imperameter could do whatever Imperameter wants to do. I remember this was like... Ooh. This would have been back when I was on like my first character bank that I played this quest all the way through. Just to see how it went. Because it's one of those things, like, I think it would... I guess the most recent time we would have done it might have been like... 2 years ago when we were showing out how to get combat gear, because there's so few things you actually fight for the Barans. So we played a quest that led to that similar pattern, I think, on that particular session. Like, that's how few times we do it that I could probably unironically name the last time we did it. Unfortunately, I'm getting very low on healing items. A lot of damage earlier. Oh well. At least I'm able to kind of deal with them here. Uh-oh, I'm seeing some intense demoning over there. I am gonna throw out a confuse trap because I think that would be useful. Just something to delay them from hitting all of us. Okay, here's where I think the wave is gonna happen. There it is. I was gonna say, I was like, I knew it was coming. It's fine. I can face tank a couple hits here. Oh, he did more damage than he normally does because he went to the shattered form. That's so sad. Rip. Oh well, I saved a Trimate for the other boss. We might as well just finish the run since we're here. I was like, wait a minute. There are more waves before the brands, but I'm like, no. I knew there were more. Surprised that actually strikes from there. It doesn't hit well. I gotta get closer. Oh, I missed. There we go. Just barely clipped it with the normal. And it's still split, even though it's dead. That's funny. I mean, like, it's just gonna land and die, right? Like, there's nothing else it can do. Yeah, okay. It tried. Oh, I will say, because as I said before, because he was doing like the cinematic nonsense. The problem is, like, if you allow the players to make any rolls, there will be players that don't let you set up for this big scene. So his intent, let's go back to the intent. His intent was the party would be left helpless and it would look like the party is about to lose, and then the kid basically saves the day because he's just so much better than the party, blah blah blah. The problem is that he chose mechanically to try to beat an artificer with constitution saving throws. And for people that don't know what that means, most people don't usually have an advantage or high roll to it, but the artificer does. So instead of needing to roll on a 1 to 20, like a 10 to pass or a 12 to pass, I have to roll like a 2. So I'm like, I'm kind of not impacted by anything that they're doing. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, like, maybe you make me roll as high as 5, depending on what it is. I'm not really concerned about that kind of thing. So he shut down, like, the typical characters that are squishy, like your spellcasters. But the problem was, like, he didn't shut me down. So I think he realized it, And then because I said I was just gonna counter his plans, I think that's also why he purposely botched the order. I think he realized I was gonna ruin his big scene. So his big scene was that he was gonna have like this giant, I forget what it's called. Whatever the flying pig demon that teleports is in D&D. It's a common enemy. I just don't remember what it's called. I don't want to say Baphomet, but it's like something like that. So anyway, he wanted to do this scene where it basically teleports in and then it flies and it snatches the kid, and then like his little cinematic plays out. But the problem is, like, when you're playing D&D, you can't really do cinematics at high level, because I'm just like, I just told him, I'm like, I don't really care that you grab the kid. I'm just gonna grab the kid with magic. And he's like, how are you gonna do that? And I'm like, well, that's easy. Vortex warp. And he just had like a stunned look on his face. I don't think he realized, like, he had this big scene in his head, and I'm like, I'm literally gonna ruin your scene. It's like, like I could just target it in 90 feet and teleport him. It's kind of like, I'm like, yeah. You can't just, I mean, you could do whatever you want as a DM, but the players can also do whatever they want with their characters at the same time. So I'm like, I'm just gonna ruin your moment. And I think that's genuinely why he botched it. I don't think it was entirely accidental. I think it's because I declared specifically at the table that before they went, I was gonna cast a spell to interrupt whatever it is they were trying to do. And I don't mean like I held my action. It was just like a turn had to pass and it was going to happen. There's nothing, it is inevitable. There's nothing they could do to prevent that, because they're not spellcaster monsters. So it's like, what are they really gonna do? Let's do a little CCC. I think, is it in extermination? Oh, I hate that that's in extermination. How is this not in VR? This is like actual tomfoolery. This is not in VR. Like every time I go to that, I'm like, why is it categorized like this? Please do better. Launcher, please. Someone who's never played D&D, have enjoyed Storytime, learning what not to do. I mean, as I said before, like, there's definitely a gap in experience. Like, I have played a lot of games. I don't usually play as a player. That's honestly where I'm weakest. But, like, when it comes to understanding how, like, things mesh together, all I do is like the equivalency of deck building in deck builder games. I want to understand how everything connects with itself or like with other components, and I form a plan. That's like, for me, being a DM makes more sense for me because I have more information to work with. So it's like one of those things where I would say if you want to have a cool moment as a DM, just let the players have their own cool moment organically. Let them describe whenever they have victories with like critical hits, like what happens. Let the player like have the opportunity to celebrate these moments. That's what you should be doing as a DM, but it very much is still a us versus them. And actually, I forgot the funniest detail of the story. So we were talking about before how like the DM is like essentially narcissistic, and I kid you not, he was wearing a shirt. Oh, rip and parameter. I gotta revive him here. He was wearing a shirt that's... Oh, I died helping a parameter. Rip. He's wearing a shirt that said... Let me think if I could get the exact words. It was... I want to say it's, I'm lawful evil. This is my world. Deal with it. I think it's with it. And I was like, you know what? That's actually... That's a perfect summary of his DM play style. Where I'm just like, yeah, that's about the same attitude I get there. I'm pretty sure that's what it said. I might be off on like a couple words, but it definitely said lawful evil. It was a D&D shirt, and I'm like, you know what? That's a good encapsulation, actually. I'm gonna run over and get that HP material before we time out. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this is a little harder to do with just two people, but we cleared an okay amount. Wow, hell did not proc on any of those. GG, I think, to the run. Big oof to hell missing on those. It is what it is. I love that that's still a lot of XP per second, despite it being like somewhat easy. Let me go restock some items. I forgot to do that before. We'll try CCC again. Oh, internet disconnected? Oof. Whipping parameter. So, I guess one thing we could do to be more constructive, in order to say, like, how would you improve as a DM? How would I have taken the same story notes, or how would I have done combat differently? So we talked a little bit how to improve initiative tracking. Honestly, there's no excuse to mess it up in the world of 2025 with digital apps, smart boards, whiteboards, cell phones. There's so many ways you could track initiative. Those are two that I've used. But in terms of storytelling, I don't feel like it's a good feeling to give to players of us versus them, or DM versus player mentality. It's more the DM should take on the role of a storyteller. The players generally will have more control over the story than you would realize, especially as an initial DM. Oh, we might have to do some solo stuff while Parameter comes back. We'll switch to some solo stuff. What can I do? Oh no, he's back, Disregard. So let's start to finish in terms of improvements. One, if players give you things, please read it, please respond. Please make sure you talk to the player in order to say, like, oh, you know, you're looking to do this. Does this work for you? Is this a good alternative to what you're looking to do? Oh, I didn't make a single player, did I? Hopefully not. Otherwise, I'll just remake. Oh, we're good. Thinking about it. Oh no, rip internet. Big tears for the internet connection. Or in Parameter. So definitely spend time with them, especially if they give you things like backstory. It's always nice to kind of throw the player a bone, just say, you know, you create an NPC in the world, and eek indeed. And you spend some extra time to show them that you care about the stuff that they send you. It's you want to feel welcoming as a DM. When it comes to, I guess, the introductions, let's say you have a time skip, which I really don't like to do a lot of time skips in D&D in general. I usually kind of do day to day, but it makes sense after you defeat like a big bad that there's at least some longer downtime than like a day. Can't play like this. Well, thank you, Parameter. Sorry, internet is not behaving. I'm trying to think what I could do as solo Pink ID. If there's anything I want to do with her at the moment, solo. Away for now. Oh, Chris is here. Welcome, Chris. Guess we'll continue story time. We've had some things disrupt story time a little bit with PSO technical issues. Let's go back to this character, I guess. Question mark. So I think it's always good to allow players to have their own time to shine, and you have to recognize that players have different strengths and weaknesses as DMs have different strengths and weaknesses. Some people really just want to dive deep in the lore, and you have to be able to kind of come up with characters on the fly that you might not have thought of, because you might be thinking from a plot perspective, these are the characters that they want to meet, but maybe they're interested in figures, or maybe they're interested in the history of the world. Oh, are you looking to play, Chris, or just watch? Actually, we'll find out in a second. So I think you need a certain amount of flexibility to be able to create stuff on the fly, and while you can have a session planned, always expect that players will derail you in some way. And in fact, it's probably a good thing, because when I say derail, the inverse is true. You don't want to have players feel like they're being super hard railroaded into the plot. The more choices you take away from them, the less of it's a role-playing game at that point and more of a movie-watching game. Like, if everything is deterministic that this has to happen, then why are they there as players? So you have to be able to let go as a DM and just acknowledge that you might have some things set up, but don't just give, like, your big bad villain a, like, easy out to things just because you had bigger plans for him. Let the villain die, or let him have a successor. Let the players have their victory for where it is, and generally that will make for a better storytelling and playing experience. So I would say from the perspective of the time gap, if things don't go the way the player wants, it's kind of... Oh, there we go. Oh, this should be fun. What can we do with these two characters? FOnewearl, huh? Do you have a preference for episode 1 or episode 4, Chris? No. I don't mind leveling you. I just need to know what you're comfortable with. So from the standpoint of having a long time gap, if things don't work it out with the player. You know, you want to guide them to say like, oh, you can't do that in this universe. Had some hellish experience on 4. Oof. Scarred for life. Well, time to potentially scar you for life again. But this time with the new thing. Downtime activities are kind of weird because they have their own sets of rules. Mine's offensive. Yeah, there you go. Downtime activities are kind of weird in that they have their own sets of rules. And again, I think 5th edition, for as much as people say like, oh, it's easier, blah, 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 they have a lot of clunky and unnecessary rules. And it can be kind of messy when you go into something that takes more than a day worth of time. So just make sure that if you're planning for a longer period of downtime, you have to be able to define the rules and establish them to the player. So I'll give an example. Like, if the players are skilled at different things that make money, you should know going into the session if they're going to use performance check, like as a bard, that's an extremely common thing to do in order to get money. Or if there's downtime activities, you should be vaguely aware of how salaries work. Again, not my favorite portion of that kind of thing in Pathfinder and D&D. I usually don't have campaigns with a lot of downtime, or I run shorter campaigns. So when the big bad is actually dealt with, downtime is between like literal campaigns and I don't have to worry about it as much. But just make sure from that standpoint that you can't penalize players for not playing the way that you want them to. You could talk about if they're just doing something very inappropriate in general. Like, I'll give an example. Like, if they're agreeing to play like a paladin or something like that, and the intent is to be able to go through and they'll potentially protect the city, it would be unexpected of you to allow or base a story around a paladin suddenly going around burning down orphanages, right? Like, there's a certain baseline where you do have to agree to some extent that this is the story that you're looking to play. And that's why you set up something known as Session 0, to talk about some baseline expectations, how certain rules might work in the universe, you know, any other caveats that might help them with, you know, creating their character, you know, aside from general meeting times and things like that. Like, are you expecting like a 10-session thing? Is it more of a one-shot? Like, setting up those expectations with players is extremely, extremely important. So once they agree to that equivalency of Session 0, you should really just be working with the players to have a good time. Like, at that point, it's just, they've agreed to spend time with you, either on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis. So you have to realize that, like, you are not their controller. They're there to hopefully have a good time collectively as a group. So it's one of those things where if you start going with, like, the my way or the highway kind of thing, it's just going to turn people off of the game. And, like, if not for, like, other factors, there's literally hundreds of games you could potentially join on something like Roll20. Maybe a bit more limited in person. It really just depends. I know, for example, there's things known as Dungeons and Drafts, Or if you go to places like microbreweries, they will have events where you could just kind of join in a free-for-all. Or if you go to like certain conventions, you could just join games on the fly without knowing the DM or having too much other context. But that's where, you know, you have to establish that this is the kind of thing that you're expecting in the game. And I think from that perspective, one of the things you can't expect in the game is that you as the DM will be able to just sit there and essentially monologue for all eternity. Players are there to make rolls. They're there to make choices. The more players are rolling dice, the happier a player is. I'll give an easy example. Do you want to know when the wizard is happiest? When you're in a party? It's not when they're casting fly. It's not when they're casting haste. It's when they're fireballing a room. Listen, they want big number, big dice. Number go up, more dice. It's not more complicated than that. Like, sometimes you just want to say goodbye to the encounter. Let them have those moments. And in fact, I think it's actually kind of a good sign of encounter building where you actually take into consideration as a DM the play style of the characters. Like, you might, I mean, maybe you could tell with a lot of experience without having played with them how they're going to play. But it's one of those things where you take a look at how they play over the course of a couple games and you adjust over time, right? So you want them to feel like all empowered, essentially, or as close to it as you could get. Also, I got frozen. Rip. I killed almost every enemy, but then I got bodied at the end. So sad. I even died through 3 seals. That's kind of unlucky, actually. I think I had like a 35% chance of dying, 36. Yeah, that would have been 30 plus EDK. That's unfortunate. Like a 70 to resist for comparison, chat. But anyway, that unfortunateness aside, if you want to have like big monologues and stuff like that, or you want to describe a scene, you have to realize that you could take that kind of opportunity to describe more in detail enemy actions. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, like, that can get players involved by talking about like something in a lot of detail. You want to use it sparingly because you don't want to be like Joe Schmo leaves a general store and you spend like 20 minutes talking about this character that you'll never see again, kind of thing. So you have to kind of balance it to the like importance of time spent. But one of the things that they all split. That's unfortunate. Rip. So, unfortunately, if your intent is that you want combat to go a certain way, the only way that should go is the PCs win. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you are designing an encounter that they are not meant to win, that's stuff you would have to potentially talk about with the party going into it. Like, I'll give an example. A party should not be expected to win if they're going against something they have been obviously warned about, or they know in context is a really bad idea to mess with. So I'll give an example. So let's say you're playing a horror campaign. If you're playing a horror campaign, it's generally accepted that monsters are going to be really strong, and you're potentially going to need some kind of like MacGuffin or something in order to defeat them, right? You're like, oh, I can't beat this alone. Or like, if you want to just have like a really big boss monster show up early and kind of mess with the party but not outright combat them, there's also nothing wrong with that too. Kind of like the villain that they're gonna fight in like 5 or 6 sessions shows up and you let the players take a swing at him. Like, just let them do it, and then just be like, you know, oh, you're not a threat yet, so, you know, I'll let so and so handle. Like, do like the typical, you know, oh, my henchman will take care of you, my time is more important elsewhere. You can have those moments. It's fine. It sets up kind of expectations as to the... Yeah, be the JRPG big bad, exactly. That's where I'm going with it. Like, there's ways you can introduce fights that they're not meant to win. But just be aware, like, if they have, like, a really good plan, and they outsmarted you, just take the L. If anything, that's more memorable. Like, imagine this big bad is sitting there gloating, and he goes to teleport away, and then they just, like, lock him out. They counterspell him. Do you know how funny that is? I'm like, you know what? Give him props. That's funny. Just roll with it. Oh man. Deal with some of these enemies real quick. Freeze them up a little. So it's just important to make sure that, especially like, don't bring like personal grievances into characters. Like, I can't believe I have to potentially say that, but I do have to say it based on the last few sessions. Just don't do it. If you have an issue with a player or a DM, those are things you potentially talk about at a game, unless it's like disruptive to the point the game can't continue. Like, if his problem is like, for example, he feels my character is too powerful, that's still ultimately your fault as a DM. I'm sorry. You have like full control, more or less, of what's allowed into the game and the items that are dropped and stuff like that. So like, it's still ultimately your ability to say whether or not something should be allowed. So I would say that would be more of a DM fault. If a player is not behaving like the way you want them to, like maybe he wanted me to interact more with the child and then he got very petty over that, for example, then you just talk to them about it. Oh, I'm getting absolutely bodied. That was like literally nothing but stun lock. There's nothing I could have done on that. Wow, I died through Jellin, by the way, Chad. Did you see how much damage I took? Oh, I don't think Chris is able to revive me. Oh, rip. I think this is over. He went the worst possible way to dodge them. Maybe he can get around them. Yeah, otherwise I'm just gonna teleport back. Yeah, he's stuck. He's gonna teleport back. Yeah, it was like I literally couldn't heal at any point. I just got stun locked until I died. And I ran out of skip dolls, unfortunately. That's okay. That's why we went to mine 1. So just make sure not to take out the problems with it. Like, as I said before, I'm not there for the DM. I'm there for the players. So if I feel like the DM has escalated to the point that I no longer want to play, I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a certain point where you have to realize it's also not worth negotiating your time. And I feel like at least I can get story time out of it. So for me, even if it's like not the most enjoyable thing at the time, I think it can lend itself to like lessons. Like, we can learn a lot of important lessons on how things should be done by seeing how it shouldn't be done. Did I really get punched by like... Oh, I did get punched by something that wasn't Jellin. Man, that really sucks. The problem is, like, there's just too many enemies for me to debuff. Let me go ahead and buff Chris. We need him doing some bigger damage here. Maybe get a B101 or something. Nope. Take this tri-fluid, though. Let me think. The moving forward time skips, I generally don't like them for the outlined reasons. I find they're kind of disruptive. They make sense if you're more of like a... I don't know how to frame it. I guess more of a Lord of the Rings style campaign, where there's supposed to be a lot of time between traveling in different areas. I like, for simplicity, to keep things within a couple areas, or to bypass some of that with things like teleportation, depending on the setting, or like warps to other planes versus like literally having to travel hundreds of miles in order to go to the next spot point. So, I need Chris to kill the Varans. He's fighting the Sinnohs. I don't want him to fight the Sinnohs. The Sinnohs I could deal with. The Varans is more annoying. There we go. Priorities, please. Thank you. See if I can zap him. Oh, I might be dead here. Oh, close. So it's one of those things where, again, it comes down to playstyle. So take it with a grain of salt, but I know from my experience, I don't like a whole set of clunky rules for something that happens like literally once a session at most. So it's just kind of like one of those awkward things. Yeah, you have to walk around to the side. You can't just walk at them, because I saw you were still at the doorway. You have to just walk to the side. But from that standpoint, I guess where I was a little confused, and maybe that's because, again, he didn't really set expectations with me as a player, where I was definitely not expecting it to be more roleplay heavy, given that it had not existed for like 3 sessions at that point. Which, granted, like, not everything will be, like, the same ratio as you go to play. But, like, to go from, like, a 10% roleplay to, like, 30 to 40% is a pretty noticeable jump. So, for me, I know I was not prepared for that. And if I had known that there was going to be a much longer sequence before combat, I would have probably done different prep for as a player. Because I was thinking we were just literally going to go right into the next combat, given how the previous session ended. Uh-oh. Oh, we're getting the bad room. That is really unfortunate we're getting the bad room. Damn, I wanted the other path. Oh well, it is what it is. There we go. Yeah, the other path is preferable because this leads to the impossible to kill robots, but it is what it is. We'll be here a while, Chad, is what I'm telling you. Yeah, one thing that I would say... No, let's keep going in order. So we're talking about time skip. I talked about don't like the rules. Oh, that's super bad for us, actually. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to spam heal here. Hopefully I live. I'm trying desperately to survive. There we go. I healed through it. I did it. Okay, so... I think he was trying a little bit with role-playing, so, you know, gotta give credit where credit is due. He's playing as the kid who is basically, I guess, a mix of, like, just childlike behavior and demonic. So, like, he can have fun with that, and I don't think there was anything wrong with what he did there. That was probably, like, one of the stronger parts of the campaign, where it was, like, ambiguous whether it was, like, the actions of a demon or actions of a child that just doesn't know better kind of things. That had, like, a lot of horror movie vibes to it, which is good. I would say, you know, if you're looking to go for a specific style, just let players know it's going to be that kind of thing. So, like, not everybody wants to play a horror campaign. I'm okay with it. I don't personally care. I probably have more experience with horror campaigns than anything else, to be honest. But I think there's a lot of mechanics in horror games, or not horror games, well, technically horror games, that don't, like, really translate well when you're trying to do them into D&D. Like, you can't really, like, quote-unquote jump scare people when it comes to combat. There's a reason players have things like initiative, and they have perception checks, etc., etc. So I think he was a little better about it this session than he's ever been in any of the other sessions, so that's why I didn't bring it up before. Where at least he actually asked what our passive perceptions were for, like, the first time in a while. And I do think it was actually one good thing he did, like, outright good, is I like asking for things that aren't necessary to throw players off. So, like, it's always fun to ask for a check for something that's irrelevant to kind of mask when an actually important thing happens. So he used, for example, asking what people's passive perceptions were on something of just, like, noticing a detail. But that's all it was. It wasn't like a, oh, you know, look out, something's ambushing us kind of thing. It was just more of a, like, oh, it was just so you could see, like, you know, this person was looking at this person and did this. And it's very minor in the scheme of things. But then, like, it gets used later in order to say, like, oh, then you see something, like, super messed up happen, or you see, you know, a monster suddenly appears where it wasn't before. And because you set up the, you know, the false sense of security by asking for a check that was, like, otherwise pretty innocent. Yeah, the which way you're facing. Don't do that. So, like, now that I understand he was going for more of a horror game vibe, because, again, I don't think he did very much of that previously. It's one of those things where... Oh, I'm so scared I'm gonna die here. We have no idea. Fear is real. Get rid of some of these enemies. So, you can't also invent mechanics to emulate horror movie stuff. I mean, like, you in theory could, but, like, it's not really meant to do that. If you want to play horror games... There are way better games to play than 5th edition for your horror base. If I'm going to be, like, very blunt with you, there are hundreds of other tabletop games you could do. I would recommend just kind of doing research on it. People just know D&D, but I don't even think D&D is a good venue for it. In particular, because it just lacks a lot of checks, and it doesn't touch a lot of mechanics that would be used in horror games in general. Like, do you want to do like a murder mystery thing? D&D is super terrible with that, with skill checks. Like, it is super bad at it. It is probably one of the worst systems you could use. Do anything else. Do a system that uses D6s. Do something that uses D20s. Okay, hopefully Chris can deal with the brands. I'm just getting missiled and lasered over and over. I literally can't do anything. I'm gonna try to slow them down a little here. Oh my god, should I actually shock the brands? Wow, I can't believe that worked. I think that was one literal Razan that I stunned him. Oh no. Rip. He got interrupted by them, so because he stopped damaging the brands, he left it at low health, so that will absolutely kill me. No. Yeah. Alright, so he needs to come back and revive me. I'm super dead. Yeah, when it's low on health and berserking, I can't survive that. I don't have enough HP. Fortunate. I said that before. This is the worst route we could have gotten. The only way it'll be worse is if it's Volt Op, and then I just quit the quest. I'm not doing Volt Op. I don't even care if it's for XP. I'm not doing it. Yeah, that's where it's a little rough with just 2 people. But anyway, so it doesn't really emulate the things where, like, the killer pops up behind you, which now I realize that's what he was trying to do. It now makes more sense. If I frame things in, like, context of horror movies, suddenly some of the other sessions make a little more sense to me. Like, why he was trying to introduce some of these mechanics, specifically, versus just, like, inventing BS on the spot. And I'm like, oh, he just wants to do horror movie vibes. But again, like, D&D is not a good venue for that. It doesn't support the things that you want. There's no, like, horror meter equivalency. You know, you're not playing, like, a Lovecraft themed, like, tabletop game where, like, sanity is a mechanic and stuff like that, and there's all these other rules for investigating paranormal things, and I think those systems are a lot better than D&D when it comes to that stuff. So I think it's just kind of take it or leave it for some of it, and just acknowledge that not every game system can do every single type of game, unless you're willing to house rule a lot of mechanics to kind of clean things up and try to work at it. But at that point, if you're putting in that much effort, why not just choose a different system? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things you got to think about. So I think I now understood what he was trying to go for, basing it on, like, certain movies specifically, and I'm like, oh, okay. Rid of the dubchick here. So sad. Take this. Like this other doorway. Here we go, chat. Moment of truth. Will it say anything other than mine too? No, it won't. I feel like this path never brings me to the good ending. I'm leaving. I'll try again. Oh. Yeah, but somebody in the lobby. We'll try one more time. Sort of inventory out. Oh, we have Marco. Say hello to Marco. Rex says, "Hey guys, hopefully things are going well." They're going okay. We're winding down story time and talking about how we would improve certain aspects. I don't really have too much to say about the role-playing standpoint. As I said before, that was one of the ones where it was fine. There was an attempt. Switch to 3 seals here for more damage. and also resistances versus certain things. The Rebarded Merch here is also fun. Yeah, I guess when it comes to combat balancing, let's talk about combat balancing again, because it's a before. There were a lot of things that were happening, but like they're too story dense to kind of break it down into something simple for story time. I would say, generally speaking, making an NPC hate a specific player is a choice that I don't usually recommend for any reason. Probably don't do that. Probably don't do that. It will be my advice to you as a DM, short and sweet. Aside from that, I'm just trying to think if there's anything plot point that I missed in between that would be worth talking about. We met some NPCs, showed them around the farm, built a false sense of security. That was okay. Oh, we're going to ruins this time. To ruins we go, I suppose. First combat, I would say from a balancing perspective. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. From a balancing perspective, usually don't let a PC fight a singular enemy. In terms of balancing, the monster has to be like so far above the players that it's probably just gonna go around one-shotting somebody. Because CR does some very funny things in D&D. So somebody being like 2 or 3 CR above the party level probably has the ability to kill a player at that point. Even though like technically it would be listed as like something the party could take. That is like a boss level encounter, if not like an extreme threat, depending on what kinds of abilities it has. It's also important to note that you can't just take challenge rating at face value, that like just because it is quote unquote a certain challenge level, that it's not actually going to be higher than listed. Or if you play them with like almost PC level strategies, that also amps the difficulty up to a very, very, very potentially unmanageable level for the party. So I'll give you an easy example. Any enemy that has like invisibility is going to be like an absolute nightmare to the party. Anytime you start introducing that as the DM... Oh, I got one shot there. That's unfortunate. That sad moment where I don't move, but I die. Rip me. I guess I lined up with somebody. So just make sure that if you're going to do one of those things, that it's just it's a boss level encounter. But you also have to realize, if it's like X number of levels above the players, it's probably going to be outputting an insane amount of damage. So that could be a little tricky to balance, and that's why, generally speaking, I usually don't just have a 1v5 or 1v4, depending on the party number, versus like a big bad. Just because all it takes is a couple of good rolls as the big bad, and he'll probably just outright kill a player. Especially if you've been gearing them, if they're like humanoid challenges versus like monster challenges. That's where it gets real ugly real fast. So I don't super recommend that, honestly. Those are always the toughest ones to balance. Like, the less enemies you have, the harder. And again, if they have things like invisibility, or they have things like summon monster, you have to realize that if you are giving yourself like really optimal quote-unquote positioning and high ground, that you're gonna make the playing experience miserable for the player. Like, imagine like a sorcerer that just uses like low-level target spells versus invisibility while walking around and summoning creatures constantly, and is like never findable because they're always like 80 plus feet away. And then whenever they're somewhat close, they vortex warp out of distance, and they constantly harass you as the parties try to short rest. Like, you can have encounters like that, but it's just a very different expectation and play on like the challenge rating system. Also, I apparently can't pick that up. It's so sad. Oh, I got stuck. That's unfortunate. I tried reaching Chris. I died for it. There we go. That time I could pick it up. Let me pick this up. So Yeah, I think the other thing he didn't really understand, at least from a balancing perspective, if you have a lot of rogues in the party, they're gonna do an insane amount of damage. The way you kind of deal with them is just make them fight a lot of really small encounters with things with potentially higher amounts of AC, right? Like anything with like AC or damage reduction is going to potentially really shut them down without needing to do anything like too special. If you want to drain the resources of the party, anytime you have a spellcaster, just introduce more than like one encounter in a day. Like, if you're allowing players to basically reset every day, that's like almost video game levels of, oh, you know, resting between everything and like a Neverwinter Nights in order to get all your spells back. So if all you want to do is kill a party of spellcasters, all you do is just make them fight not even really hard encounters, but just a lot of encounters. And that you don't even have to do anything special to beat them. So if you feel like certain party members need to be quote-unquote challenged, it's definitely a balance between how many... Oh, I got sniped full screen. That sucks. I'm gonna look at team on that one. Team activated him and didn't kill him. I blame the team on that one. I was nowhere near that enemy. Rip me. But anyway, so from that perspective... Oh, we actually got the bonus room. Nice. Love the bonus room. Full of so many bonusy things. So just make sure... I was getting clawed, rip. Yeah, bonus room is a good find. We should be able to get more V101 here. So, yeah, I mean, you just kind of address it based off of... Like, if you want to create specific challenges to players, that's fine. If you want to gear... You know, if you feel your encounters aren't hard enough, think about the strengths and weaknesses of the party. If you want the team to shine, you have like a blaster wizard. You want to know how to make them shine? Group a lot of low reflex enemies together on any wizard that knows fireball, and they're gonna have a good time. Reward them for it. If you want to make sure a rogue does well, have like something that has like a lot of health, but not necessarily high amount of AC. Let's say like a bigger creature that might not necessarily be able to... Oh, I think I just killed myself through spells. That's awkward. I thought I could rest it there. Oops. Took a little more damage than I thought. That was more player error. I think that one was my fault. I think I got clipped at some point and didn't realize it, because I was like, oh, I only took like 500, and I was like, oh no, I took like 1,000. Never mind. Let's go ahead and debuff these enemies. So I think combat and counterbalancing is definitely very hard for newer players, just because if you're not running a module, you don't really have a good idea of like what enemies should kind of go together, because you don't have experience there. And at the same time, sometimes modules are also just not well balanced because they expect an experienced team to handle it. So it's just kind of like a lose-lose situation, honestly, where a DM has to kind of understand how much damage is possible for a player to do. Oh my gosh, the game is lagging so bad for me right now. Holy. That lag is real. It did not like all those graphics on screen. I minimize that, hopefully that'll be better. Let me do one more thing to hopefully stop that. Yeah, let's so sadly no items there. Well, sound is 600,000 Crimson Assassin dying at once. Oh yeah, the volume like stacks on itself, so even with the reduced value, it's quite something. I like that the game got so confused my experience bar ended up on the right side of the screen, by the way. That was cute. The encounter broke everything. Where is the power material? Did that also break? I don't know. Whatever, I'll move on. I don't know where it is. I think my material reader also broke. I'll probably just leave. Come back. We'll reboot the game. And I guess we'll kill Worm Boss, I guess. Anyway, good luck team, because I'm not doing jack in this boss fight. spell, reload the game. We'll try doing this as a different ID, since we seem to be getting ruined so often. Bonk. Good luck, team. Yeah, so, I mean, like, you could change... Challenge rating is more of a suggestion, it's not a hard rule. A lot of it comes down to tactics, and you have to realize that if you have, like, home advantage, where, like, let's say the players are going through the dark, and none of them have, like, dark vision, and you have a creature that has dark vision, and would be able to see them coming, and would be able to easily hide out of range and do ranged attacks, right? Like, that's just an inherent advantage due to the background or environment they happen to be in battle. So you kind of have to, I'm not going to say fudge it, but you have to realize that sometimes if you play a monster 100% optimally, it's just not possible for players to kill it. So it's also kind of something you have to do where you have to do at least a reasonable performance with the monster, but not everything should be like expert level tacticians either. So, you know, if an enemy's supposed to be smart, you want to plan ambushes, that's fine. I think to some extent, like, if you have an enemy that's very stealthy, and all it does is just walk forward and face tank, that doesn't make sense for the setting. But, you know, it's just finding a nice balance where you're like, okay, realistically, how long would it take? Oh, that's so sad, the 50-hit Vulcan. That's so sad. So you have to say to yourself, like, realistically, how would a player defeat whatever it is? And if you can't envision the party going through and doing some things correctly in order to beat the monsters, then the encounter is probably not a good fit for the campaign. The more obscure combinations of spells or the more knowledge it requires to beat them, the less effective it is. A lot of the times, players, especially in 5th edition, are just not going to know about enemy weaknesses for the most part. So unless they are given hints or they take some extra time to figure enemies out, they're not necessarily going to know all the nuances of, like, oh, this thing is weak to fire, or oh, this thing, if touched by silver, is damageable, but not by this, and stuff like that. That will be lost, especially on newer players that aren't familiar with the system. Kind of imparts some unfair advantages. I guess to people who actually DM, because they get to see all the stuff that most players don't get to see. Let me reboot real quick. Try again. I guess we could just do some TTF as we talk. I don't really mind. We did some episode 2. I'm happy for it. Switch to... Actually, I need to get my Psycho Wand out, sadly. I'm gonna put my Psycho Wand away and we'll just do some TTF. The people need a level or do whatever. I'm gonna bring in Red ID. Need to swap some items. Let's see. So yeah, so for example, if your party is consisting of rogues or people that purposely lower their accuracy in order to do more damage, a challenge for them would not be making them fight. I checked the Vulcan to sell, but it's 50 hits, so I can't. Oof. So true. Unfortunately, with the other change, you can't do that anymore. Let me go ahead and rotate the stick repeatedly. So it's always finding that nice little balance of things that are appropriate to the setting. Definitely don't wing monsters unless you are really, really comfortable with the game. You don't have to have necessarily every enemy prepared, or you don't have to know, like, down to every single detail. But that's where I like to plan a lot and think about, in general, what are some very basic things I'm gonna do, so I'm not sitting there staring at a stat block, right? Because that's also a big issue that I see, especially in the campaign with him. He doesn't know the monster abilities until basically he's reading them. Like, in the game, like, at that moment. I could tell he is not, like, he prepped in the sense that he looked up a monster and that's it. Like, he doesn't know anything else on the sheet or how they should play, etc., etc. So that's very noticeable to more experienced players. I don't recommend putting yourself in that position because it looks just kind of awkward. But, like, I'll give some easy examples. So, like, you should know, generally speaking, if a monster has an attack that hits something other than AC, when they would use it or why you might use it in encounter. You might not use it every ability in an encounter, and that's fine with it. But like if they have like a piercing scream that stuns somebody, you should be able to say with confidence in less than like 3 seconds. The first question that is going to be asked by the player is, when do I get unstunned? Do I get a roll? These are just very basic things you should ask yourself before you run it. And I feel like that did not really happen with him, and that was a huge downfall with the plot. Or not the plot, with the pacing. Because, like, you should be aware of, like, this is the challenge that you're looking to do. Oh, rip the Vulcan fire. And I really recommend as a DM, as I said before, sometimes, you know, you just do RNG rolls and you do it, and there's nothing wrong with it inherently. But realize that the less prepared you are mentally to run the session, the more combat kind of grinds to a halt, and time is spent on things that are not particularly helpful. My Vulcan now. So if you're looking to kind of trim long portions of combat, you taking like 2 to 3 minutes to read a monster every time like a round comes around is just not acceptable. Chris can testify, and even people that have seen the previous streams can testify. I am completely comfortable running like 11 plus enemies simultaneously, and I will generally take less time than the players. And the reason being is because I know exactly what enemies are going to be in the encounter. I know exactly what they are going to attempt to do. I know generally what will happen if my plan is interrupted, and I'm not spending a lot of time doing it. I'm not fumbling like, oh, I needed D8s for this attack or stuff like that. Like, it's really important that you do like actual session prep in order to make sure that you have what you need to expedite combat. Combat can be one of the slowest things that can happen in the game, and it is also the easiest way to disengage players. So like some people like big number, big damage. But at the same time, you have to, oh, why is the warp all the way back here? Rip. Oh well. But anyway, let's see. So from that standpoint, when we're talking about, wait for everybody to get closer. There we go. And we're talking from the standpoint of combat. The way I would view it, especially if you're as a newer DM, is that combat is where only one player at a time is really going to get attention. And if they don't know what they're doing, that's a lot of time where other players are not doing anything and participating. That is probably the biggest danger, and I don't think people realize how bad it feels to sit there until they experience it. So like, there's a big difference between a DM taking 2 minutes to run 10 monsters and giving descriptions and doing all these other things, versus a DM kind of like hides behind a book for 2 minutes, then moves something, then checks a page, then goes back, then takes back an action and doing all this stuff. It really draws it out. So you want to make sure as a DM you go as fast as you can. And then what I would recommend is like other players at the table is to like not distract the players that are currently doing stuff. So that's usually like one of the big times where I'm like, Valkyrie drop, nice. That's usually one of those things where I really recommend the party gets like extra focused and to make sure that they're aware. So one thing you could do as a player is just to make sure that you should be thinking about, well, there's potentially like 5 or 6 other players, including DM, that need to take their turns. You should be aware of what you're looking to do, and you should really just pay attention to very small things. Like, you don't have to know how much damage an ally does, but it's good to know when monster has been injured. You don't have to know necessarily every roll that hits to AC, but I recommend as a player you keep track of what was the lowest number that hit a monster, because even if you don't know a monster super well, you could be surprised by just keeping track of those things, especially if they're repeatable enemies, important numbers for you to beat. So like, that's what I would recommend to players that are like really distracted. Like, just honestly take some time to write something down, and you'll be surprised like how much better you are at decision making because you spend some time to pay attention to the dice rolls. it doesn't have to happen, and it's unfortunate that it doesn't. But it's one of those things where, wow, oh, wow. Like, I was watching them target the big monster, for example, as a player, and I'm thinking, what is an acceptable AC from me where I could take a penalty and still hit? So I think for the most part, the answer to that question would be, I would want to, with the penalty, have not really that much worse than a 50-50 of hitting. Right? So with that kind of metric in mind, I try to pay attention to what was the last number that was able to hit a creature. So I heard, like, an 18 is still able to hit the creature successfully. And I'm thinking, it's pretty close to a 50-50. Even if it's literally an 18, it's close enough that I would consider doing the targeted attack versus something else. And those are things you could kind of pick up by just paying attention at the board. And again, I don't see a lot of players take advantage of that. They're usually kind of side-talking, which is a bit unfortunate. And maybe that's just because I like combat a lot in maybe not D&D specifically, but just in general. But it's one of those things where you can glean a lot of information of whether something's effective or ineffective. You can kind of get an idea by playing long enough what stats the monsters are, if certain checks are being beaten, quote-unquote, whether or not it's like their strong suit, and you can kind of feel for it as you play the game. But I think also what you should be considering is when you're sitting at the table as the monsters from the DM side of things, you should kind of already know who's weak against what, but you also have to realize that unlike the players who could probably make the best decisions, sometimes you have to just purposely make a bad choice. But you make a bad choice quick in hopes that the players will punish it, if that makes sense. So, like, you don't have to have perfect positioning or, like, doing all these other things, unless it is, like, literally in their character. Like, would I expect a squad of elite soldiers to just be, like, complete chaos on the battlefield and completely uncontrolled? No. Would I expect, like, a whole bunch of a random goblin brigade came by and then something happened and they all went in random directions? Absolutely. So it's kind of that balance of tactics, understanding the monsters, making sure you have all the dice ready if you're playing a physical game, that if you're going to be rolling like 66 or like 10, you know, 6-sided dice equivalencies, just make sure you have the dice. Like, you would be surprised how many people just don't, because they don't plan ahead to that extent, that they just don't have what they need. And again, needing to roll 1d6, 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 because they didn't bring enough dice, also really slows the game down. And I'm telling you, these are kind of like minor in this the scheme of things, but they're super important in order to just get them. They're easy to do right. So if you could do anything to kind of reduce the time taken, do what you can. But my tip is the DM is just make sure you just actually look at the monsters. Oh, I guess team is going. I got confused because I didn't see the guild checks for a while. Let's see if this works, team. I think this will work. Okay, so they will take damage from that. Let's see if I could get a couple of guild or Sinnohs killed here. Getting stun locked. Hate their alternating fists. They kill a couple of them though. I'm out of here. Oh, I'm confused. I was wondering what was happening there. It's like, why am I walking in a random direction? Oh. I guess he confused me right as I teleported. He got me. The bait was real. I carried confused into a different area. He got me. Oh boy. Yeah, as I mentioned before, initiative tracking, I'm not going to go further in that point. But anytime you feel like something is really off the rails, even as a player, and I did this during that game, I just ask, whose turn is it? If they're taking like a long period of time, it's like you gotta draw attention to the fact that their turn is taking so long that you honestly lose track of who is doing what, because often that involves them just kind of like staring at stuff. And that's why, like, as a player and both as the DM, please just look over your character sheets before you go into combat. Like, it's okay if it's like a more nuanced thing has come up and you're deciding between a couple things. But like, honestly, like, after like a few sessions with your character, you should just kind of know what your spells do. Like, we shouldn't be looking up the rules every time you want to cast it. And if it's to that point, just spend like 20 minutes before you start a session in order to go like, oh, these are the spells I've prepared. I should probably at minimum know what scenarios I'm going to use them in. Versus like staring and reading at all the spell descriptions, which did happen in that game, by the way. Just to be clear, that did happen, and that is definitely on that player's, you know, definitely player fault. They should not do that. Kubo's found a red ring. Nice. I'll see if I can buff people while up here. See how it goes. Does that work from up here? It does. Little drive-bys. There you go. Good enough. Yeah, as I said before, one of my big pet peeves is when people do combat wrong, because it is very easy for stuff to stall out. So if you're looking to improve as a player, please, like, honestly, just put yourself through, like, we'll call them almost like mock battles in your head. Like, okay, if there's 4 enemies, what am I going to target them with? Am I going to be the person that approaches? Like, these are very easy questions that you can ask yourself before combat. And if you have never done that before, you will be shocked how much time that saves when you're playing combat. Also, we apparently went to Castlevania. Samurai Warriors. Oh no, did we end up on the infamous... This it better not be relaxing Castlevania music, I'm losing my mind. That also is infamous on the stream. Please tell me it did not find its way into that, despite me saying no to that. Oh, it almost did. It almost did. Okay. It was next on the playlist. Oh, no. Okay, we're gonna pause every version of Cross Your Heart. Actually, you know what? I'll let it play. We'll fix it later. Cross Your Heart's fine. Oops, I didn't mean to buff there.
Is that a monolith?
Get them healing in. We'll at least let it play out for falls. Speaking of which, I need to make sure to swap back into my 3 seals so I don't get murdered by falls. I don't think there's anything else I really want to add to suggestions. Like, honestly, if you feel like a part of your game is dragging, I don't know if I would necessarily ask the players, but I would at least ask myself, like, what were the slow points of the game? What would I improve? Because, like, DMing is not just a, oh, you know, I did it and we're never going to reflect upon it kind of things, because otherwise you don't really improve as a storyteller or, like, a game runner. And as I said before, a lot of that just comes down to prep. Comfortableness with descriptions and abilities makes for a more memorable combat. Where time should be spent in combat with higher level DMs is describing the enemies and really pumping up basic actions. Like, if you can make, you know, enemy swing sword exciting, you are basically winning as DM. Because otherwise, like, if you take it at face value, all he's doing is rolling a d20 and that's it. Right? It's not really that exciting. It's up to you as the GM to kind of make the game come alive. And again, that's where I feel like it's super appropriate for the DM to kind of let the players embellish or to like go into details when they crit, to kind of bring the story elements back and to let the players like celebrate something. And similarly, if a player goes down, it's usually a pretty dramatic moment in the game, like if a player actually hits 0. So build up tension with like storytelling at those points, but also recognize that you don't need to describe, you know, the eye color and hair differences between like 7 to 8 grunts if they're just really just playing to be defeated in the story. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all about fine-tuning. You know, we don't want to suddenly start talking about... Oh, I used Gelon on him by some reason. My bad. Oh, wait a minute. Is my right stick sensitivity incorrect? I think it is. We'll fix it. Hold on, chat. I'm calling it. Oh, it had 666 HP briefly. Did you remove my stick sensitivity? You did. Oh, Joy-to-Key. I don't know why you won't save this setting. I'm actually getting very annoyed with the fact that it refuses to save this. It remembers it for every other one but the Ephinea one. I don't really understand, to be honest. You don't understand, Blue Hair Ground has an incredibly rich and important backstory. And I mean, that's the thing too. Listen, players will grapple on just... Huh? What happened to my abilities? What? What? Something happened? Why am I suddenly not able to do this? I'm suddenly not able to cast spells. What happened? Alright, we're gonna have to check the controls in a minute. I might just kill Joy-to-Key and reload. It's being weird with me right now. I'm like, I kind of need to be able to hit the control trigger on that. It'd make it a little hard to not be able to use my 0 to 9. I saw something online. They're like, all you have to do is just kind of name an NPC, and chat will probably find something that they love about it in some way. Give me a second as I just hard reset out of this. Build Joy-to-Key, relaunch Joy-to-Key. Hopefully it behaves itself here. It should be good now. I'm not sure what happened earlier. And of course it didn't remember the stick sensitivity. I really wish I knew what saved it. That's why I'm like, I don't understand why it doesn't remember this setting. Like, I even tell it to save it, it just doesn't save. Weird. Don't remember the controls though. Oh well, it is what it is. We'll do a couple more TTF, and then I guess whatever chat wants to do after that. You're welcome to do some stuff. I don't think family wants to do anything today. I'm okay with going for like another hour and a half or so. Or at least I haven't seen anything if they wanted to do something. Hopefully I don't have an unwelcome surprise in like 20 minutes. We'll find out though, I guess. It'll be fun, a fun adventure together. I'm gonna go put away the shameful Vulcan. I'm good with OSCs. That making me think I didn't set the right password for a second. I was getting ready to reset it. What's the word? Yeah, so I would say generally, you know, if you can make combat more efficient by just making sure you understand the monsters, you have your dice prepared, you involve the players in some other fashion. So I'll give an example. If it's like a really important moment or role, I definitely like to try to call attention to it at the table, whether a player is making it or the DM is making it. And it generally, the more showmanship you can add to it, generally the more memorable the event is. So it definitely kind of undercuts if players are trying to take their turn, and this is both from a DM perspective and a player perspective. If a player is trying to walk their way through their actions, it's okay to talk with the player through their turns, but never talk over a player. Whoa, what's happening? What? What? Hello? What happened to my... What? What just happened? What is going on? Oh no, chat. Weird things are happening. Joy-to-Key, what are you doing? I'm so confused right now. I'm so sorry, chat. Joy-to-Key is like crashing, and it's not... I'm now walking in circles randomly. Like, I'm not doing anything, it's just moving me. I'm so confused right now. Is this, like, bound to something that it shouldn't be bound to? Huh. I am so sorry, chat. I'm not sure what happened. I changed the stick sensitivity and now nothing is working properly. Can I, like, copy this to see if this works? I mean, you can hear me hitting things. It's not doing anything. Huh. Really sorry about this, chat. I've not had this happen before. Like, not even registering the controller properly in Joy-to-Key. It's not something with the port. Just fix it? Nope, I don't get any inputs. I didn't want to pause PSO, but, like, I can't get the controller to respond anymore for some reason. So it recognizes that I'm pushing the right button, but now it's no longer doing what it needs to do here. And I don't get what happened. Yeah, like, see how I'm auto-running? What button is auto-run normally on the keyboard, chat? Do you recall? Since, like, you can see it's just auto-running for some reason now, and it shouldn't be doing that. It's E. Yeah, I don't even have E assigned to any buttons, but it's somehow inputting this. Yeah, because I don't know what it thinks I'm inserting. Let's go briefly to keyboard controls. Or the, I'm sorry, keyboard config. I don't even have it assigned. What? Yeah, E doesn't do anything for me. I'm so confused. How is that even happening? I don't have, like, 2 instances of it running or something weird, right? Terminate. Yeah, it's gonna crash PSO when I do that, and that's fine. Sorry about that, chat. I mean, there's no sense in me continuing the run. I mean, it's like super dead. So it's weird that it's now giving me so many issues. Is it just like I didn't run as administrator or something? Just being weird with me? Give me a second. Because it's a step before, like, me messing with the sensitivity is not normally a big deal while I play, but, like, suddenly I'm, like, auto-moving and all of this other stuff. So I'm really not sure what happened. And it seems to, like, detect my basic movements okay. It just doesn't detect my right trigger from Joy-to-Key. Like, you hear that? Like, it's now not detecting button presses. So I don't know what's going on. Are we good? Are you gonna let me menu? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I didn't change anything today in PSO. I just wanted to boot it up. I'm gonna make a game in block 1 very briefly to test something out. I need to, like, go into... Oh, that was, like, the worst episode for it. I just need to walk somewhere so I can menu. Figure out what's going on, because I can't see it in town. In town, everything feels fine. Let me go to spaceship. Yeah. So... for some reason, now it's Joy-to-Key is crashing when I hit my right control stick? Why? Sorry, chat. I might need to pause for now. I don't know how to resolve this without rebooting the computer. Like, it just straight up crashes. I just observed it crash in real time. So that's why it was working and then it stopped working. It's because it crashes. I don't know why it's... I only have one instance open, so I don't know what its problem is. Alright, chat. I guess I'll pause the recording. If I'm able to get it working in like 5 minutes, we'll return, but I'm gonna need to do a hard restart. So sorry for the awkward pause in the middle of the gameplay, but I'll try to be back in a few minutes. Hopefully I can get it fixed with the reboot. Let's be right back, chat.